Welcome everyone to Charting Your Course. Thank you for joining us today with myself, Kathy Ma, and of course the amazing Andrew Bartlett and the phenomenal Debbie Smart. And for those of you who don't know, Andrew is offering a free video series called Living the Mystical Life Daily. He shows you some tools and gives you knowledge about how to have mystical experience in your everyday life. So sign up for free at andrewbartzis.com. Just put your name and email when you get to the page and you'll receive the first video right away. Again, just get it at andrewbartzis.com and enter your name and email to receive the Living the Mystical Life Daily series. And don't forget, his event is coming up very soon, so watch out for that. It'll be at the beginning of September. And remember, for those of you who would like to get a private session with Andrew, Debbie, or myself, go ahead and contact Tanoch at galactichistorian.com. That's TENOCH at galactichistorian.com. And we'll be able to get to the bottom of your issues and help you see a better way ahead. And if you'd like to learn more about Debbie, please check out her website, which is innerdimensionhypnotherapy.net, and learn all about what she's doing and the sort of things that you can learn from her. And if you'd like to learn more about me, please check out my website, which is kathyspearlsofwisdom.com. And today in Charting Your Course, we'll be talking about dreams and all things related. I mean, it's a topic that touches all of us. There's very few of us that don't dream to some degree. And some of us will have very vivid dreams, very lucid ones, and some of us really have trouble even remembering, except there's just a little whispering hint of what might have happened. So today we'll talk about everything dream related. And we welcome Andrew.
Well, Kathy, the Big Bad Dream Show. That's what we're doing. A while ago, we came up with the show on dating and phobias and fears, and now we're going to tackle that world of dreams. Now, for people to know, we're not going to be really talking about the nightmares or night terrors, though we will touch on it, because we want to paint a broad brush here to reinitiate people that dreams are an unlimited subject. Oftentimes, fears and traumas and terrors that have taken over us are that individuated moment in individuated time. The Charting Your Course series is about getting people back to the basics, to reinitialize the actualization of remembering your dreams, being able to share dreams. So the first thing that I want to bring up is childhood dreams versus young adult dreams versus adult dreams. Oftentimes, people don't realize that they fall back on the certain other versions of their dreaming self, and they have very young dreams that confuse the adult, or the adult who dreams a very different way but doesn't remember the flight that they had. So I bring Kathy to you. The first question: how is it you, as individual person, delineate when you have a dream, if it's a childhood dream or if it's one of those modern adult dreams?
Oh, it's such a weird experience when you jump back and forth. And sometimes in one dream, you can jump from the adult to the child. And in many ways, it is confusing. But the childhood dreams, often there's a theme that has come throughout your years of growing up. And very often it's related to domination or fear or a quandary. For me, a lot of my childhood dreams have always been about not understanding things. So I might be dreaming and, something will happen that is very logical and I should know it. I know I should know it, but I don't know it. And I'm almost questioning, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Of course, that no one answers me in your dream.
Not always.
Well, not always. Not in ways you want to know.
Exactly.
But it is a very confusing time because there's always a lot of confusion that's related to it. And then often, when you wake up, you really think about if you can remember a lot of it. Because the childhood dreams for me, I remember a sense of it. Like I might remember a thread of 10% of it, but the rest of it is kind of a blur. And whether that's because I was a young child when I was dreaming that to start with, or my conscious mind is blocking it once I'm awake, it's very difficult to define. But often I find that dreams like that are really relating to things that are going on with us in our life. That really, in a way, test our core beliefs. For example, you might have been having a moral dilemma in your life at the moment, and you're not sure if what you're doing or being told you do is right, or if it's, in your own mind ethical, and you're having a lot of trouble with it. And often in those times, I do slip back into childhood dreams, because it's that little thing: is it right? Is it wrong? Please give me the answer. Give me the answer. And you're always looking outside yourself for the answer rather than inside. And I guess this is part of your own development as well, because ultimately the answer is within yourself. You have to make that decision. No one can tell you what is right, what is wrong. Only you can. But in that confusion and conflicting time, it just comes through in your dream time, and you're you're almost like, oh, what if I make the wrong choice? I'm going to be dead meat.
Yep.
But for me, I always find, when I look at that kind of situation and I am having those very strange childhood dreams, it's helpful to just sit back and focus on what's going on for you now, and really analyze, why are you so upset? Why are you in such a quandary about it? Because in reality, if you're in such a quandary about it, there is something wrong with what you're being asked to do or what you're thinking to do. Because even as a child, you already have your core basics. You know what is right or wrong. It's just you're looking for someone to tell you it's okay to do something that you know you shouldn't be doing.
Very well put. And so many people long for that childhood dream of flying and all those other things that come with it. So I'm going to bring the same question to Debbie. Debbie, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be back again with you guys. With a lot of childhood dreams that I recall were a lot of flying dreams that I had. And some of them were flying to escape from somebody, and others were just for sheer pleasure of being able to fly. And when I look back, occasionally I have the flying dream now as an adult, and that brings me back to my childhood memories of how much I loved flying in my dreams. And I don't know what that represented to me, unless it was just being pure freedom. Andrew, I'm not too sure what that represented to me, but I really, really enjoyed doing the flying thing. But another dream that I used to have, when I was going through my teenage years in high school, I always felt that I didn't fit in. I suppose a lot of people can relate to that. And I'd have these reoccurring dreams that I'd turn up at school in my PJs. Yep. And be totally embarrassed, and and everybody just looking at you, and you're sort of thinking, oh my God, how did I get into my pajamas? I was dressed when I came here. Things like that. And I was just sort of wondering if that was a reflection on what I was going through at the time. I was feeling, a bit ostracized or put aside because I was different. I felt like I didn't fit in. And so maybe that was representing, the PJs were representing that I wasn't wearing the appropriate attire for school.
Or there was some issue with your residual image.
Right.
Meaning you didn't approve of your body in some state. And many people that are going through puberty or the post-puberty stages, where puberty is finished and they still haven't figured out how to be aroused without creating negative energy in their field.
Right. And I think, and I recall it probably was around about the age of 13, when I was, in puberty, actually, when I was having those type of dreams. Really, really strange.
A variety of dreams like that, especially the flying dream. I got a little something, a little myth to bust here. So many people, they believe they're flying, but when in actuality their technology is in perfect function and they're flowing through information. They're fully multidimensional, multifunctional photonic beings. And the feeling of flight, even if there's imagery behind it, is really how fast you're moving through the infinite sources of information. It is the highest state of glee when those children are flying around in there. Now, when they become a little older and get imprinted and realize there might be things chasing them, flight takes on a different perspective. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is for the sheer recreation of doing it, and it isn't really the glee that you're getting from the technology fully in function. It is the control in the dream world, which is what we as adults are constantly trying to get back to, is that lucid state where the child could fully control the dream.
Right. I know that there's a lot of the dreams when I was flying, I felt like I was totally in control of where I was going and what I was doing. And I was really, really happy.
Right.
I think I only had one or two dreams where something was actually chasing me, and I actually had to leave the ground to fly and get away from it.
Yeah. And then sometimes, we have lucid dreams that are so intense as children where you wake up inside a dream, or you start dreaming inside, you fall asleep inside a dream and have a dream. Now,
Yeah.
adults don't really have that, but children do.
I don't recall that for myself, actually. I may have, but it's quite a long time ago for me.
Not that long ago, Debbie.
Kathy, did
Yeah,
you have any experiences like that?
I definitely have been in a dream that's in a dream and woke up in my dream, but obviously I'm still dreaming, definitely.
Yep.
And it's such a surreal thing. I mean, it's just like a movie. Although when you're young, you don't realize it's just like a movie. Because when you wake up from your secondary dream, you think you're awake, but
Right.
obviously you're not awake. But usually the setting is in your bedroom,
Right.
or a parent walks in, and so it's very disorienting.
Right. So for everyone that has ever wet the bed, you have had that experience that Kathy and I just talked about. That is when the body and the spirit are trying to figure out how to use the technology. And sometimes the mind and the soul will fall asleep inside a dream world because just like in the physical world, it has to go through this napping stage.
Right. I do recall the dream that I had as an adult where I had an appointment to go somewhere, and I thought I had woken up, and I went right through with the whole thing of showering, getting dressed, and getting walking really fast to get to where I was going.
Right.
And next minute I woke up and went, oh, now I've got to do this all over again.
Right. 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 That beckons the next thing of having a deja vu inside a dream.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's weird. That is
So
weird.
me, deja vus and dreams started about when I was 11, 12, 13 to 15 years old. And then they faded out and didn't come back into my mid 20s. So how do I describe a deja vu in a dream? I'm having a lucid dream where I know I roughly know it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I have to be at work at 5:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm at that stage where I'm programmed to wake up and go into that lucid dreaming state. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, deja vu. I've seen this before. And then you get to the next stage of what is it that I'm seeing in my dream, and you realize that it's shades of light, that I've done this 1,000 times before, where quite literally, as throughout this lifetime and thousands of other lifetimes, I've had these aha moments inside that space in between dreams that I'm a consciousness spread through time.
Wow. I've had a deja vu experience after a dream, or what I thought might have been a dream, but it might have ended up being really an out of body experience. I came home from work. I was in my mid 20s, and I came home from work one afternoon, absolutely exhausted, and I thought I've just got to lie down for at least an hour, before I start cooking dinner. And so I lay down on the bed, and next minute I feel myself just hurtling through space, and I started looking down, and I was starting to come down, and I saw that I was coming down the side of this mountain, and I could see cars driving below me, and they're driving through this tunnel. And so I started flying through this tunnel, and next minute I just got back into my body, and then woke up. And about 2 weeks later, I'd never been to Hawaii before, but I got a phone call from my father, who was living in Colorado, and he was very ill. And so I had arranged, so he called and wanted me to come over and see him. He felt he only had a couple of months left to live. And so my brother and I and his fiancée flew to Hawaii, which I'd never had expected to ever go there at that time. I was living in Australia. And we took a trip up to Harley Lookout. And all of a sudden we got into the car park, and I just felt this, oh my God, I've been here before. It was that deja vu moment.
Yeah.
And so I look over to the lookout and look down, and there's the cars driving exactly how I saw them going through the tunnel.
That's a premonition dream that triggered deja vu.
Right. It just blew my mind. I was like, how do I deal with this? It just blew me away.
So when we dissect a conscious deja vu, so what is a good example of deja vu? Kathy, what is one deja vu that you can share with a story?
For me, I often, in my dream state, I don't always recognize the deja vu at the time. It's when something happens to me, then I remember I had the deja vu in my dream state. And almost every time it happens with, been teaching a class, and it's always about students and their questions and things that topics that come up that I hadn't really planned on doing. So when you recognize it as the deja vu, you're like, what? I mean, how could I have already done this? Because I didn't even prepare for this. But then when you're doing it, you recognize it. And that's the weird thing, because for me, a lot of the deja vus are outside myself. They're not. I couldn't have possibly manifested it on my own. It's with other people that I guess that energy and that power of everyone together has been so powerful that it has manifested within the dream state. And for me, it's always, what? Wait, was that last week? No, it's this week.
Yep.
But it's almost, in a way, a bit freaky, because you start to doubt yourself. For me, anyway, with deja vu, I always spend a lot of time thinking, wait, maybe I've gone over this, and it's just too familiar. But then it can't be, and I don't know why I distrust it so much. But I find it very confusing, and only with hindsight later can I really truly recognize it.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever seen anyone have two people have deja vu at the same time?
Ooh, at the same time. Is that kind of like Snap?
No, like quite literally two people I used to see this in the restaurant business all the time, where you'd have one or two people in one conversation, and then one table or a few tables next to it, you'd have another one, and you'd have someone go, oh my God, deja vu. And at the exact same moment, a couple tables later, the people not interacting would have the deja vu at the same moment.
Wow, no, I haven't experienced that.
No, that's really interesting.
That's something the little me noticed as part of the restaurant industry growing up in it, is how tables that were completely independent of each other would be reflecting the same similarities of expressions and teachings.
I've had a really unusual experience one time where I was invited to a friend of mine's 21st, and it was at a place that none of us had been before except the guy's place it was. And it was downstairs under the house area, and we were just all sitting there talking, and somebody said, oh, I need to go to the bathroom now. And I just automatically said, oh, it's over there around the corner, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden it hit me that I had a knowing where the bathroom was, and I had never seen him where it was. And all of a sudden I just got this, like, I felt, oh my God, this is deja vu. And I knew what the person sitting next to me was going to say next. And when they said it, I just got goosebumps all over, thinking, oh, I just knew what they were going to say. How did I know that? And how did I know where this bathroom was? I've never been to this house.
Yeah, it's a bit like going into someone's kitchen and knowing where everything is in the drawers.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then they're all looking at you like you innately know they're all in the drawers.
Yeah, this is either spooky or you're stalking me.
Exactly.
Oh, you're super, super psychic.
Yeah, but I mean, the one of the things that you briefly touched on, Andrew, but the deja vu in the dream, like we were talking before, having a deja vu in the dream of a deja vu.
Yes.
Like that is weird.
In my teenage years, I would have these deja vus of having deja vu in a dream. So I'd be in a dream state, and whatever was being shown to me at that state was a deja vu of having it in a dream state. And then there were deja vu moments, and then obviously in the dream time, there are times you are observing yourself, and the observing you is having a deja vu of observing you having a deja vu.
Yeah.
And this is, to me, a revelation of the multidimensional self. It's when the self pulls back the curtain and goes, here you go. You can take this message of deja vu and understand we're interconnected on a very deep level.
And you had the experience where you could, let's say you go into the dream today and you then dream of the dream that you had the deja vu of the dream of the deja vu?
Yes.
So that is like you know it's happening. Your conscious mind somehow is alert enough to understand it, but it's very confusing within the dream.
In a lucid mind, in a lucid dream state, it isn't that confusing. It really isn't, because I've trained myself enough to bring my skill set and consciousness to my lucid dreaming. I mean, we've all had dreams where we were being taught and guided by something. We kids grow up that way.
Yes.
You can reinstill that in your lucid dreaming, and that's the biggest thing esoteric practitioners and teachers want, is being able to teach how to manifest in your dream world, because the dream world is the duality we live in. It's just as real as this one.
And I've had dreams where it's just so real that, when you wake up, you're shocked that you're back in your bedroom, because what the experience you had was just so real that you really felt that you were there.
You're living it.
Yeah, definitely living it.
So back to the deja vu of the deja vus. As I got older, I would have, as I began in my mid-20s, and the next round of deja vus that took over for me were me starting a dream and then experiencing myself in a younger version of myself having the deja vu of the aha moment right there. And then I would have another deja vu of me having this experience, reminding me that I was in the right timeline, in the right place, and that other versions of myself that had been looking out for me were giving me the road signs that it's all clear.
That's amazing, Andrew.
It actually makes complete sense as well.
Yeah.
And it was, the deja vus are their own code for how much help is coming to you. So for anyone having deja vus, that means your unseen world is like a bee's nest, all stirred up, trying to help you. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Stirred up can mean bringing you energy. So anytime you're having a deja vu, your spirit world your dream world's highly active.
Right, so it's taking you through multiple layers of yourself?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Revealing multiple layers and concepts of myself. One of the ones that I had, most ironic one, was actually on air while I was reading a person.
I've done this before.
Yeah, I've done this before, and it's not because I've read thousands and thousands of people. I've done this before.
And with this person.
And then I began to realize what the innate message of that first deja vu, of me having the deja vu of reading this person on air, that every person that I'm reading is a deja vu.
Wow.
Everyone. And that was the bigger consciousness understanding of me, of what it takes to be connected to the Akashic record without being in a trance, physically being here. Everyone knows it's always me. It was the choice to manifest the dream world, and I'm not lucid dreaming now, I'm lucid living.
So you're actually living your dream?
Yeah.
Or you're lucid dreaming?
Yeah. Dancing the dream is what I call it, dancing in and out of the dream and manifesting on both sides.
I like that.
One foot in the dream world, one for the physical manifest step, and every time we take a step forward, there are equal steps in the dream world. That's where we can make multiple versions of ourselves that have independent missions that are protected forms of the self.
Well, you've got me.
Things that you said before, Debbie, has just stirred a memory for me about you turning up to school in your pajamas, or in your dream.
The embarrassment of it all.
Yeah, I can actually remember, and I mean, now that we're talking about adolescence years and that, I had completely forgotten about this. I did go through a few years of dreaming that I turned up to school either naked or in my underwear. I mean, it's probably just undies, not even bra in those days. And the humiliation of it all, it's really prompted that thought to me. But when I think about it, I look back at those years, and I was actually going through a lot of, I guess I experienced a lot of racism in those days. I didn't fit in either category, being Eurasian. So Westerners and Asians were both sort of kicked you out of their groups. So I was having a bit of a tough time. But I do remember at one point I and a friend of mine, we did stand up against these big bad bully boys. I mean, we did get hurt, but but we did stand up. And after that, we really didn't have the same kind of bullying, and that's pretty much when those kind of dreams stopped. So what Andrew says about it's reflecting about what's going on for you is so true. I mean, I'd never really put those things together in a bigger sense of claiming back who I was and taking back all the shards of myself. But yeah, that's weird.
So here's another one. After you graduated school, did you ever have dreams that you were in your 9th grade class and you're going back? A lot of people have that. Even 30 years after school, they still dream that they're going to their 5th period English or whatever.
Sometimes I do. Yeah, I do. Sometimes I think I'm going to math class.
Yep, there you go.
I've had dreams where, where I've had a job when I was 18 that I absolutely loved. And in my 30s, I kept dreaming I was back there. And so I don't know whether it was just, bringing back some pleasant memories or, next thing I'm finding in my dream that I'm actually working there again. And then I wake up thinking, why would I dream something like that? That, this is years later.
Because you actually daydreamed during that class or that work that you were doing, and you're allowing the dream world and the physical manifest. All right, that is our break, and we'll be back right after the music. And welcome back, everyone, as we are continuing our conversation about dreams. So I'm going to open it up to Kathy. What would you like to bring up about dreams next?
I think now that we've talked about turning up without clothes on and underwear and pajamas, let's move on to falling dreams.
A lot of people have the falling dream.
Oh, yeah.
So there are varieties of ways to take the falling dream. When you are a young child and you're in the falling dream, more than often you are learning how to get in and out of the body very fast. Much like the term, like a sneaky person getting in and out of the dreaming body so that your brothers or sisters or your mother or father don't notice you going off and doing your dreamy stuff, doing so on and so forth. So you get caught in this thing of trying to ease out, and you go very high into or at the top of your room, and then you think something feels you or sees you, and you fall back into your body. Now, this is very regular for people that are stuck in the body and don't remember any of their dreams. They hover way high over their bed, and then they fall back on, much like the tide going up and down. When all of a sudden they fall and they hit back into their body and they go through a wake state, it challenges their sleep paralysis. And this is where people lose connection with their dream world, where that cyclical process of raising and falling doesn't lead to a release where the dreaming body comes out of the shell of the aura.
So what about...
Very interesting. Out of the shell of the aura. I'm trying to think
Correct.
of that.
So put it this way. You have your mind that goes into sleep paralysis and connects to the heart. And then the heart and the mind go into the intestinal tract where the dreaming vehicle or dreaming body is housed. And then the driver, the I am presence connected to the heart, gets into the dreaming vehicle and exits the aura with a cord connected to it. Sometimes there could be 30, 40, 50, or 1,000 cords representing ancestral dream worlds or other dream worlds in which one has created a space to have dreaming experiences with entities for good or bad or education or whatever was created in those moments. It can be seen like a flower that raises out of the intestinal tract to the highest of the aura and then sends off a string, and then like a kite, it just flies out of the aura and goes to the directed dream world. Now, we live in cities and you're compacted with people. Oftentimes those energies get intersected. And then people have these crossover dreams. And then there will be sacred geometry places that attract dreaming energy, which will trap people in a localized dreaming grid where they'll begin not really going to their natural ancestral dream worlds. That's why there'll be hundreds or thousands of cords connected to the various areas. Because once you're in the dreaming vehicle, the I am presence is connected into the infinite energy source. And it's a matter of what is retained as the I am comes back into the body, goes back into the heart, and returns back in the mind and removes sleep paralysis. There is what's determined is how much retention you have over the density of the dream world.
I know a lot of people have asked me the question, and I've never been able to come up with the answer because I was never really sure about it. And that was, some people said that, they've just started to wake up out of their sleep state, probably more like lucid state, and they're paralyzed. And I was always wondering whether there's just still hovering just outside their body.
Yes, a variety of things. More than often, they're heading back to their body at high velocity for something that may be going on in their dream world, and then when they hit the physical body, they create a damaged dreaming body. It's like, you can only hit the side of the wall with your car so many times before you really crumple it up. And then when people have that suddenly awake experience, it steals the rest of the density of dreams, and you're being able to remember them. So a better metaphor is going into the garage too fast.
So then it takes a little while for the to adjust itself so that then they can move.
Or they hit the body so hard that the sleep paralysis gets amplified, and all of a sudden they wake up and all they can do is and not really let a breath out.
Oh.
And at that moment, they might find themselves half rolled over and only breathing out of one nostril, and they're struggling to send synaptic nerve endings to move their fingers or their nose to get more air.
I've had somebody say to me that they felt there was like something sitting on their chest. And they
yes, there are entities that look for people that have sleep disturbed patterns or create the sleep disturbed patterns so they can do exactly that. That's your most vulnerable point.
Oh, wow. And so when people have this falling experience and they actually fall out of bed, is that just another way for them to knock them back into their body?
There's no single way to paint all of that with a single broad stroke, but yes, it has generally to get them back in their body, or they've learned the wrong way of doing it where they're constantly causing damage to their dreaming body. And after a while, there's no insurance check that's going to cover the amount of damage you've done to your dreaming body. You literally have to do the full magical self-healing and self-nurturing, re-experiencing the mystical and healing the body. Which is 70% of our world is that way right now. They've damaged their dreaming bodies so much over the last 20, 30, 40 years that they need that physical body release work so that the dreaming body has, doesn't have dented panels anymore.
Right. I know that there was a saying years ago that I heard that, if you had a falling dream and you hit the bottom in your dream, that you were dead. So I thought, oh my.
Wow, that's just those times in that generation saying that. Do you remember the movie The Matrix?
Yes.
So imagine the scene where he wants him to jump the building.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, there is no spoon. Most often when you are in a dream and you fall back into your body, what has happened, you did something that challenged your dreaming reality, and you didn't make the jump, but you hit the bottom without dying.
Right. So I wonder why they come up with that fallacy of, that if you did hit the bottom.
Take the power away from your dreams.
I was wondering whether it might have had something like that to do with it.
If you really knew it was about that you were actually doing something in your dream world that meant a gigantic shift and change in you, you would be seeing those moments completely differently, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
Also, often people come up with rubbish because they have no answer. Rather than say they don't know, they make something up.
Right, exactly.
It
perpetuates it.
Yeah.
So another example is you have people that are adrenaline junkies out there. They're jumping off base jumping off of mountains. Well, there are people that are dreamers. They're just doing their version of base jumping in the dreams.
That's interesting.
Okay? Just in another format. They're going to the end of the universe. They're truly using the fullness of their dream world.
They're couch adrenaline junkies.
Yeah.
I mean, often I will have a dream. I mean, not often, actually. I used to have a few dreams where I would be falling and, the actual falling seems to go on forever. It's not like if you were jumping off a building and falling, this building must like be 1,000,000 stories high. I mean, you're just continuously falling. And I know that there's never an end to the fall, although in your mind, your dream mind, you think there will be an end and you know it's dangerous, but you keep falling.
Right.
Often at that point, I would try and wake myself up. And I don't realize I'm doing it. So like Debbie, when you said, some people wake up and they've hit their foot against the ground or
roll out of
fallen
bed
against a cabinet, or hit your hand on the wall, whatever it is, there's some part of you that's trying to wake yourself up because whatever you're going through in your dream, it's enough. And often you don't know how to end it because your mind is already too far gone. You're flying around and it's like your safety mechanism. It's like if you can't get out of it in your dream, just wake up.
Right. In a lot of times people get afraid of sleep paralysis because they have no control. But in fact, they have more control in sleep paralysis than they know. And it's the ability to summon to that startled state your knowingness base.
Oh, that makes sense. So Andrew, I've several times when I've just been laying down to go off to sleep and you're just going off and you're just dropping off, and next minute your whole body jumps. Is that because you're just leaving your body a bit and then just get back in?
You mean like fidgets or?
No, it's just like
all
of a sudden you just feel like all of a sudden you're just like, your whole body just jumps.
Oftentimes that energy is a signification of how compressed your dream world or your physical world is compressing your dream world. And when you go to let down, there's a like premature dream world energy coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just wondering whether I thought, oh, wow, I wonder if I was leaving my body, unconsciously.
Again, it's a premature dream world. The dreaming body tried to go out of the body before sleep paralysis came.
Oh, okay.
Meaning there might have been something literally going on in your dream world in that exact moment that it needed to specifically happen. Otherwise, something dangerous could have happened in your no time.
Right. So then you just slammed you back into your body, and that's when you just sort of feel like you've just
it may not be a negative. It may have been the only way this gift could have come to you is if that happened that way, which is an aha moment later.
Right. Okay. Because that's happened to me quite a few times, and I've just thought, oh, I wonder what that is.
So when I was young, I used to have that exact thing, and my mom would come in and she'd read me a story when I was really young, and there would be this time where she knew I was asleep, and she'd get up to go away from the bed, and all of a sudden it would be like somebody else sat down on the bed.
Oh.
And it would flip her out and trip her out, and other times it was like my body at my intestinal tract level was tightening all of its center muscles, and then the whole bed would go down.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So very similar to that. So, and that was me again having premature dreaming scenarios where I was not in sleep paralysis, but my spirit was acting and driving the dreaming vehicle like it was.
Hello, Mum.
You're
too powerful. I remember, just a branch off of this topic, talking about, preparation for sleep. I can remember falling asleep once when I was fairly young. I must have been, less than 12, maybe 10 or something like this. And I went to sleep and I saw the clock. So not even 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes at most had passed. And I woke up and I was in my brother's bed because we slept in the same room. And I had no recollection of walking. Obviously, I must have sleepwalked, and it's the only time I've ever known that I've done that. But in such a short span of time, I suddenly went to sleep so deep and got up, walked, and then got into bed and pulled the covers up. And you look at that kind of thing that happens, and it's not the same as sleep paralysis, but the state that your mind must be in is that deep, I don't even know what you'd call it.
It's half delta, half theta. This is multidimensional thinking, where the lucid dreaming state has taken over so much that you don't need sleep paralysis anymore. You can literally turn that part off. Now, people that are sleepwalking, there's generally some kind of miswiring, malfunction, or something to that effect that's creating that. Here's another example that's a little bit more benign. We've all had this moment where we're dreaming and you know your alarm clock's going to come, or you got to get up and go to school, and you're like, all right, I get up, and you're like, I want to go back to sleep and finish my dream. And you look at the clock, and that 6 minutes or 5 minutes before the alarm goes back again feels like 5 hours in the dream world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay?
I've had that experience too, where you wake up, you look at the clock, and you think, oh well, I've got, another 5 or 10 minutes, and you fall back into the same dream. You go, really deep, and it felt like I had a really good extra hour and a half sleep, and it's, the clock goes off at 10 minutes later, and you think, wow, and you felt like there was so much incorporated in that dream that I managed to do in that, short space of time.
Right.
It's like no time.
And that act of waking up and going back to sleep is what guaranteed you being able to remember some of it.
Yes, it was very, very clear.
The I am, which is driving the vehicle that gets out of the car and goes back into the house of the body, has to remember the experience of when it was driving the car in the dream world.
I used to have a reoccurring dream when I was, I think I was probably about 15, and I lived a block away from the beach. And I had this continual dream that I was standing on the beach and this huge big tsunami wave was coming at me. And every time it came, actually, I couldn't move. I couldn't get away from it because it was just too huge. I knew that I didn't have time to get away from it. And it would just roll straight over me, and I'd wake up gasping.
That's another one, but more than likely that's a past life dream or dream space or physical actuality that happened that's now affecting you in the dream world.
Right, I was wondering whether it was just a fear because I lived close to the water or something.
Well,
that
it could be that too, but it was so real to you.
It was very real. Yeah.
Very real.
It's like actually it was like reliving a past. I think about it.
One of the most really strong memories of dreams I've had was during the years when my dad was quite ill, and I dreamt very detailed, vivid dreams twice, and where I was pretty much like abducted. I mean, I don't remember the abduction part, but I remember the being abducted, being kept, not tied up, but a prisoner. And I was getting this guy was just doing tattoos all over me because, I have a phobia about injections and needles. So having this massive, intricate tattoos all over me was like a torture. But he, I could even picture the tattoos very, very clearly. And then not only did he tattoo me everywhere, he also put body piercings all over me. Which again to me was quite terrifying because everything, of course, involved needles and pain. And so I finally did wake up after this dream, and I honestly think that this dream probably took up half my sleep time the first time. So the second time it happened to me was maybe 5 months later, and it's like I just slipped straight back into that dream where I was. It's almost like it took off from where I stopped it last time, because the first time I did manage to escape, but I was running through a hallway and I could see the door and I knew I was going to escape, and then I woke up. So in the second installment, I guess, of this dream, I went straight back there. I was running the hallway, and of course I got captured again, taken back to this room, which is on a table, not a table, like a chair, a bit like a dentist chair, So you're kind of stripped down, and more tattoos. I mean, you didn't think there could be any more space. But I guess the interesting point about this is at the time I was going through so much trauma in my own life. I was going to the hospital a lot with my father for his dialysis, and that was 3 times a week. And each time I'd be in the hospital like 6 hours. So I'm around all this, weird energy, dying energy, and illness and pain. And it's, manifested itself within me through my dream time, because during my waking moments, I was trying to comfort my father and cheer him up and make him think it's not so bad, which, of course, both of us didn't believe me, but that's all you can do is keep positive.
Right.
but then you're taking that on board. And even though, you go home every day, you cleanse and this and that, you're living around it. It's very difficult to completely cleanse it out of your system all the time. So it's obviously creeping in. I mean, I think you had some comments about that, did you, Andrew, about what you think it could be?
See, yeah, a lot of times there's a martyr in us. So when we're in that hospital energy, we feel we have to defend people who are being abused by negative spirits on the unseen world. And oftentimes when you leave those hospitals and you go back to sleep, you still have a residual image of those people who are going through their horrible times. And we stand up and we go to defend them. Or something that is feeding on other sources sees you as a savory morsel or a target.
Oh, yeah. See, that
external sources. And the trapping and all that, it almost always speaks of an entity, selectively using moments in your unawareness to jump into your frequency and go home with you.
And, when you said that to me a bit earlier when we discussed this, I was thinking, oh, yeah, but then I thought about it because at that time, I lived with my parents to help out with my dad, right? So even though I'm grounding and cleansing myself, my dad's coming home. He doesn't do any of that.
Right.
So even
he's
if
carrying. He's the carry. Yes.
He's got a bag.
Yeah.
Full of them. So
he's got a bus full of entities. Yes, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no wonder that happened. I mean, at the time, I didn't really think of it because I guess when you're immersed in it, all you do is just keep cleansing and clearing yourself, right? You didn't really think of, oh, he's collecting all that and bringing it back.
He's got his own mortality thoughts that create his own dream world that's positive or negative for him too. And your mother's and your own dream world about the potentiality of a life-ending scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had have thought of that while he was still alive, because it would have been interesting to ask him during those times what his dreams, like his dreaming at those few times were like. Like, were we, in actual fact, sharing a similar dream, or was I just picking up on something? I mean, I guess I'll never know in that situation, but it would have been very
when you're in your life review and when you have your next visitation with them.
Well, yes, that's true.
And I think that's the next thing we should bring up is Dreamtime visitations.
Yeah.
Has anyone here ever had visitation from somebody that's died in their dreams?
Yes.
Yeah.
A
lot of us share that.
Yeah. My mother, who passed away a couple of years ago, she's come to me in my dream state quite a few times, and it's just been really wonderful. She looked really good, and I thought, oh wow, she's lost weight, she's looking really good, and she can eat now. I could see her eating and stuff, and I wake up and it was so real, and I thought, wow, I think my mother really did visit me in my dream.
And isn't it funny, like what I have found is that one of my grandfathers does visit me occasionally in the dream state. He never spoke English. He only really spoke Chuzhou, which is a dialect of Chinese, which I don't speak. But in that situation, it's like we can communicate, So the first time it happened to me, I was like, this can't be you because you're speaking English.
I call that psychic subtitles.
That's appropriate.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're questioning, how am I understanding your language?
It is, but it's just such a weird thing because when you're in the dream state, you wouldn't expect to be so logical in your mind. You would just be accepting. Yeah, at that moment, that's what you think of.
That's your personality, your I am personality coming through. That's a good thing.
Yes, that's true.
So with visitations, I have one to share. So when I was young, I think my grandfather died in '83, so I must have been 7 going on 8. And when my grandfather died, I had a visitation with him the night after he died. All right, that's our music. We'll be back after the top of the hour, and we'll come back to our Big Bad Dream Show. And welcome. Oh, go ahead.
Welcome back to Charting Your Course. Thank you for joining us today. With myself, Kathy Ma, and the amazing Andrew Bartzis, and the phenomenal Debbie Smart. And for those of you who don't know, Andrew is offering a free video series called Living the Mystical Life Daily. He shows you some tools and gives you knowledge about how to have mystical experiences in your everyday life. So sign up for free at andrewbartzis.com. Just put your name and email when you get to the page and you'll receive the first video right away. Again, just get it at andrewbartzis.com and enter your name and email to receive the Living the Mystical Life Daily series. And for those of you who are interested in a private session and that want to go deeper with your questions and issues with either Andrew, Debbie, or myself, go ahead and call the office now at 1 for America 360-894-0692, and they will be happy to answer any questions you have. Again, the number for a one-on-one session with Andrew, Debbie, or myself is 1 for US 360-894-0692. And if you would like to learn more about Debbie Smart, please check out her website at innerdimensionhypnotherapy.net. Or if you'd like to learn more about me, please check out my website, which is kathyspearlsofwisdom.com. And today we're talking about dreams, all things dreams, whether it's childhood dreams, young adult dreams, the dream experience, the lucid dreams, the ancestral visitation dreams. And at the moment, we're talking about dream visitation. And Andrew is about to tell us about an experience that he has.
Yes, as I unmute myself over here.
the challenging mute button.
The challenging mute button. So I was relating a story. So I was 7 going on 8 years old, and my grandfather had died. And just an interesting set of events went down where he passed away while I was in school. And while I was in school, I fell asleep at class like we all do. And I had a premonition of him coming and visiting me. And when I got home, both my other brothers had already been taken out of school, and my mom and all there, and everyone was sad. I'm like, what's going on? And they said my grandfather died. And I burst out into tears. And then the very next night, my mom, in the middle of the night, for some reason, we had all woke up at the same time, both my brothers, my dad, and my mom. And we were all there, and my mom was breaking down and in tears. Says like, I just had a dream where, my father, came into her dream, and she's like, Dad, you're alive, you're alive, you're alive. And that was for her a challenging mystical experience that we all kind of shared as a family in that moment.
That's beautiful.
Oh. The acknowledgement of you're alive, you're alive, you're alive.
Mm. Because deep down, like you say, on a spiritual level, we know that life does go on, and there's ways that they can come in and communicate with us through our dream state.
And there are other beings who lifetime after lifetime after lifetime are meant to be that figure in your dream you always recognize via residual image.
Right. So, Andrew, do you mean that sometimes that the spiritual world can come in and take on that image to pass a message to you?
An image of a previous father or mother or friend or lover.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's actually their residual image connected through unity, so that you can remember on a deeper level or deeper layer of knowingness.
Right. And that their life is continuing on.
And then after a while they become companions in the dream world, or guides of knowledge and wisdom.
Definitely guides as well, because often you do see someone who's passed away at times in your dream where you need help. Like something's happening in your dream and they're the ones that show you the door that you should walk through.
Exactly.
Or throw you the rope because you're in the quicksand. And certainly I do think you're right about the past life stuff as well, that it's gone lifetime, because sometimes it's your grandmother, but when you look at her, it's not the grandmother that you know, but something inside you just knows it is your grandmother.
So another visitation dream I had, my grandmother had 2 sisters and a brother, and she was the oldest and the last one to pass on. But as my grandmother was beginning to succumb to Alzheimer's and a lot of things it does, it racks the body. And I began seeing my grandmother, with Alzheimer's, they sleep 16 hours a day, but they're not really sleeping. They're half in the dream world, half here. And my grandmother would come in and out and be talking to her sister and her brother. And when she finally did pass on, I had this moment where I saw her walk in and see her two sisters and greet them and the brother and greet them. And she turned around to me and that was it. I knew she had made it.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's awesome.
Mm.
Did you feel a sense of peace?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And another one is when my most favorite dog of all, Ralph, regularly comes and visits me. When he passed on, he would come and we'd be playing Dream Frisbee after he passed on because that's what me and this dog did all the time. And we could have done Frisbee championship back then, but we didn't. But it was our enjoyment to do together.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes, I have to say I've had 2 pets that do visit me in my dreams. And it's always an amazing,
And you know
touching
it's them.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you're saying their name from out your heart energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you've been really sad, they often
Yeah.
turn up. Yeah.
And all of a sudden the megaphone of the heart turns on and you see that pet you love so much as they snuggle into your energy field and start enjoying with them.
I had a pet budgerigar when I was probably about 10 years old. And he was such a pet, and he used to fly around free outside the cage a lot and used to always come and snuggle up. I just loved that bird, and I had such a connection with him that when he passed, I kept, I was brokenhearted for a few days, but he kept coming to me in my dream state. And I kept telling my mother, he's really alive. We need to dig him up. He's really alive. It was so real to me.
I'm going to reanimate him.
He's really alive. We need to dig him up. She thought I was crazy.
Surprisingly, she didn't help you dig him up.
She actually had to stop me from digging him up.
I know what you mean, though. It's as if they were there. It's so vivid.
As if they were there. And then other times where we have our pets that sleep in our bed with us, just as we're looking down and you're watching the dog chase the cat in the dream as their legs are going, there are times we share dream spaces with each other.
Yeah, I really think that's true. I really do. Because I've woken up, because I'm in a dream and my dog is there and we're running. And I wake up and her legs are going.
Yep, going.
She's asleep, but she's going.
And then you have, when lovers share the same bed, they inevitably share the dream space. It's a matter of, are they physically talking about it afterwards?
Yeah.
Well, I know that I talk in my sleep quite a bit, and my husband was always saying, I can't believe that you keep going back and dreaming and yelling at the kids. And my kids are grown up, they're 40. And he said, I'm talking to them like that they're like 9 and 10 years old and they're fighting and they're still telling them,
listen to me.
So what's that? Keep going back to that past all the time. It's really weird.
But a lot of that, don't you think, it's reflecting what's going on with you at the moment. Like at that time when your kids are that young, it's a lot about you need to listen to me, not obey me, but pretty much.
You're waving the Dreamtime wooden spoon.
Yeah, that's how it felt.
But as your kids get older and they're going through all their own dramas and making their own mistakes, which are going to happen, that you do reflect that a lot, and it just comes out in different ways. It manifests a way for you to work through it without actually saying you're an idiot.
Well, I'm going to get that wooden spoon if you don't behave yourself.
Exactly, as you're waving at it in the dream world.
Yeah, and my husband jumps up and is like, what do you, he thinks it's him, and I'm yelling at him in the middle of the night. And
I want my own room, he says.
Sometimes he gets up.
No, he should interview you one night.
He tried, and it's funny. I became very lucid. When we first got married, and I must have been talking in my sleep, and I just remember hearing his voice come in there, and he's going, "So, do you have any secrets?"
It's like the voice upstairs. Do you have any secrets?
Do you have any secrets? And I remember hearing that voice coming through into my dream state, and in my dream state, I remember saying to myself, "There's no way I'm telling him anything." Not that I had any secrets, but I just wouldn't even answer him. And it's like, how dare he interrupts my dream state?
Well, he's pretty smart. I wouldn't have thought to do that.
So I've had a variety of married couples that have come to me for private sessions who want to get back to the state where when they were first in love, where they shared dream states. When you're young and dumb and full of love and all that other stuff that comes with it, you have these intense mystical experiences with people, but they're very short, and oftentimes you don't remember them without sharing and actually, getting contact with the person. Say, did you dream last night? I had this, you had this. Then after a while, you become callous to it. And one of the things that I want to iterate here is when one takes conscious application of the sacred as a couple, you can have amazing mystical experiences where basically what you're doing is you're trading each night. One is choosing to use a protective frequency for the other so they can have a mystical experience and then share in the morning. And then the next night, one does it for the other.
Yes. I know that, when my husband's woken up several times, he's had some really, really, truly amazing spiritual dreams. And I wake up and I haven't had any memory of any dream. And he's, telling me all about this amazing dream that he had in all these different realities. And I'm thinking, how come he's having those dreams and I just can't even remember anything? And maybe it is because you're holding space for that person to have that mystical experience.
Exactly.
And
it wasn't meant for you to be observed. It was his special gift. And him sharing it to you is the final manifestation of the trust that he has with you.
Oh, it's wonderful, because he has quite a lot of those.
I guess now that we're entering this deep stage about talking about dreams, I mean, what about karma in dreams?
Ooh, now that's a good one. So let's look at it this way. We've all met people that we know that they're not really here. Most of them are in the dream world. Okay? And is it because their spark literally isn't here, or they just planned a lifetime where they're going to be more in the dreaming world? A harsh example of this is autistic children.
Right.
Okay? Or other children born with some kind of reality-altering birth defect for them.
Yes, most definitely.
And then there are other people that you meet, you know that they're going to be average, everyday Joe nobody, because they're literally operating in the dream world more.
Yeah.
So as we were discussing earlier, when we were talking about having karma, being able to dream, and could you actually resolve some of your karma in a dream state, Andrew?
Way more karma. Oftentimes beings that are living more in the dream world come in with such a large volume of negative karma, they chose a life to burn that off, to have that exact life to take away that karma, or they're trying to remove karma for a bigger scale group of people, and they chose to have a lifetime which is far more dream oriented so they can do their great work in the multiverse, not limited to this density of reality.
Right, and so that will clear the karma by doing that in the dream state?
Clear the karma at incredibly high levels. So they can come in the next lifetime karmic free.
I mean, I would imagine a lot of your past life stuff would come up, in dreams, and it might be difficult to recognize it because you don't recognize the characters. But at the same time, the amount of detail really gives it away. What I mean by that is, like, you can have a dream where, let's say, you're, a knight with a sword, and you're in a forest, and you know the names of the people that are fighting next to you, you know the names of the horses, you can actually feel the sweat as you're riding the horse towards battle. You look into the eyes of the people that you strike with your sword. I mean, it's very vivid, and there's no way you could have got this from reading a book or watching a movie. And when you wake up, it was real, but of course your conscious mind says it's not real. For me, I look at that, and there's definitely something coming through where you're just reliving that, and often that you're being shown moments where something has happened, where you need to recognize that whatever that was, it's over, it's ended, and it's okay. You can release it.
I had an example with my daughter when I think she was probably either 12 or 13. And she woke me up in the middle of the night, and she was all excited. And so I went into her room, and she's like, "Oh, I've got to tell you about this dream I had, and it was so real." And I'm like, "Oh," I'm half asleep, and I'm trying to listen. And she's sort of telling me that she had this dream where she went up to Andromeda, and she was actually a princess on Andromeda. And what she did was that she used to come down in a ship to Earth to Lemuria, and she was describing to me the crystal cities and how they used to converse between Andromeda and the Lemurians. And I'd never heard of Andromeda at that point, and I thought, is this child, hallucinating, or what's going on here? Because at that point, I wasn't really aware of past lives like that, or I'd never heard of Andromeda either, like star systems. I was basically more in this reality here. And so she was starting to tell me all of this in great detail, and the more she talked about it, the more the memory of that past life came back. And it was so strong, and it was amazing, the details that could come back through. So probably that dream, it just all of a sudden triggered off that memory.
Or that dream, she was actually living a life doing that. And the dream was the higher density version of herself, reminding an ancient future version of herself who was going to be much lower, things she had done in the past.
Right. It's funny because when she was playing Dungeons and Dragons, she's always wanted to be the princess from Andromeda after that.
Mm-hmm.
And all the kids used to look at her, think she was a bit way out there.
But having those dreams of Andromeda and stuff like that, whatever was the trigger, the outcome was mystical.
Right.
That's the key to understanding, is it's a mystical outcome.
Right.
That illuminated her little teenage mind for decades. Drove her to do what? Learn to practice the way.
Yes, it really opened her up, and she's very, very intuitive and quite in tune when she chooses to be.
And we all are when we choose to be.
Yes, that's true. It just blows me away sometimes when she comes out with certain things, and she's in the flow actually with it.
So one thing that I want to bring up now is as I became more aware of my multidimensional self, growing from 9 years old to 10 years old to 15 years old, with the particular experiences that I had when I was very young, I began to have dreaming experiences where I would be in a stadium full of people, and I'd be in the center of the stadium with 10, 20, sometimes 30 other people, and we'd all be projecting and talking to the stadium, and at the same time we were individually talking to each person there, like we were each group was tutoring the individual person in individual conversation simultaneously with having a full audience and conversation. And it wasn't until I was like 16 going on 17 that I was able to truly dissect these memories and dreams and realize what I was being shown at that moment, that I was interconnected with thousands of other luminary beings who were also teaching in another stadium to other groups of people who had not met me or the individual people that were on the stage with me.
That's really multidimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I had a dream quite a few years ago now where I dreamt that this entity came to me, and in my dream I knew that entity. I couldn't tell you who it was now, but I did in my dream state, and it asked me what experience I'd like to experience. And I said, I'd really like to experience being the wind. And next minute I just had this, I know it's quite a strange thing to say, but next thing I just felt like my whole body went into like an orgasm in my dream. And next minute I could feel myself flying through leaves and trees and grass, and really got that full experience of being the wind. No matter what, I didn't want to wake up.
That's a Kundalini release in the dream world. That means the dreaming mind, the I am presence, entered the dreaming vehicle and entered the bliss zone.
Yeah, I like those kind of dreams.
I'd like some more of those.
And you have full control over the bliss zone. That was the source of beauty and happiness that you were getting within it.
Right.
Yeah, I've had a couple of dreams where you you physically, you can feel that you've had that sexual release.
Yep.
And you wake up in that, honeymoon bliss.
Exactly.
What,
And
anyone?
at times, there's actual manifestation for both men and women where there's some form of release.
Right.
Okay? And when there's an actual release, doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, that means it was a complete synaptic firing in the dream world, meaning there was something great happened with it, a transfer from the dream world made a manifestation through sleep paralysis so that you actually got the gift.
Yes, because I really felt the experience of being the wind. It was, and I thought, oh my gosh, do you have to have an orgasm to have an experience? But then I realised now when you're saying it's a Kundalini experience, so the Kundalini fires up through the body and then allows you to have that mystical experience.
And orgasm was the only way you could relate the experience in language.
Yes, because I could feel it.
You hadn't been taught about sensual orgasm, where there's not a sexual release, but a Kundalini release from human touching. I mean, there are times that people hug each other and there are full orgasmic Kundalini releases, but it doesn't have the sexual juices flowing behind it.
Right.
Like when two people haven't seen each other in 20 years, or refugees separated at birth and 20 years later they meet.
Yeah.
A variety of, of metaphors that I can bring that show you can have a sensual orgasmic release that's not a sexual process, but truly back to that natural sensuality exchange of energy.
And that bliss,
Yeah, and the bliss behind it, and love behind the bliss.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I had another dream, and I've mentioned it to you in the past too, Andrew, and we were talking about dreams way back, that I dreamt I was attending a mystery school, and we were told to all go outside and to do this discipline out in this field. And when I walked out in this field, I couldn't see anybody. And so when I looked up, I could see everybody walking about 6 foot up in the air, like levitating, but walking around like it was normal. And I saw my daughter up there, and I said, how did you get up there? And she said, well, you just put your mind, you just focus to that point, and your body follows. And next minute, I'm up there, and I'm walking around with the rest of them, and I went, wow. And when I woke up, I thought, oh, I love that dream.
Shared dream experiences. So families have shared dream experiences. People in hotels have shared dream experiences. So the shared dream experience is the next thing that I want to talk about, because we are coming to a time in the human consciousness change where our awareness of the unseen dream world is going to be having direct effects on our physical manifest of this dream world, of this physical world. That's the duality, the other side of the dream world.
And so is there a way that when we do this shared dreaming like that we can make sure that we're protected in a way that when we're going to share the dreams that we can be, choosing who we're going to be sharing that dream with?
Yes. So innately, if you're sleeping regularly next to someone or in the same house or under the same roof, you are sharing dreams with them.
Right.
But are you truly remembering them is a matter of if the physical manifest makes the effort to communicate. Yeah, I had a dream. Did you have a dream? Do you regularly talk about your dreams with each other? If the physical manifest don't talk about it, it is in the subtle background. Remember I was telling you before how children sneak out of their body because they innately know that everyone else that's sleeping is watching over them. Because that's what a mother and father does as a baby is sleeping.
Yes.
Well, I guess that's why they say sleep like a baby, right?
Right. That's why they sleep like a baby.
No worries at all.
So we can reinitiate that, and that is where the family has to come together and have shared moments where they regularly express, whether it's at their dinner table or before they go to sleep, that they talk about the dream world and empower it with each other to share those dreams.
I know my husband and I share our dreams regularly, every morning actually when we wake up. And
how often do they cross over?
There has been quite a few times when they have. Which was quite interesting. And he'll be like, I had a really strange dream last night. I dreamt about that we were with blah, 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 whoever that, And I go, well, that's interesting because I dreamt that I was with them too.
See?
Yeah. And I didn't realise, you're just sort of, sharing your dream state.
What about global dream time?
This is what I was indicating to. Human consciousness beginning to aware that there is a side that's facing the sun, and then there's a side that's not facing the sun. And that is the very fundamentals of duality. You have the side that sleeps during the night and the side that's awake during the day. Global dream time is we are all sharing dream space. There is not a light side and a dark side to the planet. And luminaries throughout since the dawn of mysticism have been looking for ways for people to connect to global dream time, which is the potential of all people in their dream space sharing dream space with the celestial mind of planet Earth, and we all sharing a moment of psychic deja vu and dream space of unity. Or in another version, we have that blissful state where we know we're connected with everything. Global dream time. How many mystical stories have you heard where people have had their dream experience and they felt connected to the all of the universe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
totally get that.
And I know the Aboriginals in Australia, Kathy, you'd be very well aware of that too. That their dream time is their whole baseline of their spirituality. Their dream time is more important to them than their, waking time.
Because that's imprinted into their culture that you are dreaming beings having a waking experience.
Right, yes.
So in the global dream time, if you're aware enough that you're in the dream, sharing this global dream time, and you're experiencing things that you don't really like, is there a way that you can divorce yourself from the yucky parts of it and just enjoy the positive parts?
Yes. This is where the discipline of lucid dreaming comes. Those that are working with the global dreamtime expression are the personal practitioners of their own sacred way. And when they're the personal practitioners of their own sacred way, they get to a point where they must separate from their density what they want in their reality and what they don't want in their reality. The dream world is about owning your sovereignty and respecting the sovereignty, that energy that's behind it, so that, all right, that's our music. And when we come back, we'll finish our explanation of global dreamtime. And welcome back, everybody. We are talking about dreams, 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 dreams. Dream. Now, dreams have been written about since the dawn of time. Since the dawn of writing, people have been sharing their dreams. And this is one of those scenarios where those that are listening on the YouTube side or listening live, we'd like for you to go and place a comment when we push this video up about some of the dreams that you've had or some of the deja vus that you've had. We'd love to hear some of your feedback when it comes to dreaming in general and some of your lucid dreaming experiences. Dreams are one of those things we must take at a sacred level because they are that infinite source trying to nourish us to continue this great journey in the manifest dream world, in our duality, so we can learn to be multifunctional, photonic beings of light, manifested in this world and many other worlds of light simultaneously.
I like that, simultaneously.
Without flaws and seams.
Yes. So, Andrew, when we're talking about the global dream time, what about for people who live in apartment buildings and there's, they've got a wall between their bedrooms, basically, the bedrooms might be back to back.
This is where they must create conscious intention before they go to sleep that they are not going to share that expression with what is around them. That their dreaming vehicle, that when their I am presence goes into the heart and becomes connected there and then gets into the dreaming body, which are the dreaming vehicle in the intestinal tract, and it leaves the aura, that it is going to go to the North Pole where their ancestral dream world are, or to the South Pole where the 7 future generations in our astral world exist. You must give it intention at the adult level You must give it the spark of creation and discipline behind that spark of creation to imprint into yourself with an opened heart as an I am aware consciousness, knowing full well if you use the imagery and imprint it into your own self, you will have that manifest experience because consciousness creates the reality around it.
Yes, and I'm just wondering whether, when we watch TV shows or there's so much stuff in the airwaves, is it when we're dreaming, is it truly our dream state, dream time that we're dreaming into, or can we be picking up on those in the airwaves?
Yes, we can pick up on all sorts of things. There have been many people who fall asleep in front of the TV and then they realize they're having spy dreams or whatever friends or TV show dreams that are very reminiscent of that. The airwaves greatly affect our dream space, and it is littered and polluted with all sorts of frequencies that are part of that infrastructure of distraction. So we cannot have true, authentic dreams that something co-creates back with us. The global dream time is the earth consciousness and how it dreams with us. Just like we are inside the womb, we dream with our mother and father. When we are dreaming in the global dream time scale, we are sharing dream space with the celestial mind and all other minds working with that celestial mind in non-competition as a part of an agenda of co-creation for the manifest physical world.
Right. I noticed ever since I started turning off my Wi-Fi and all the appliances in the house, like my TV set and all those type of things, that my dream time was so much clearer.
Yep. And believe it or not, one of the worst offenders beyond the microwave is the refrigerator.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When it turns on, it has a gauze spike of 4,000 to 5,000.
So how do we deal with that one?
We can't until we decide to make technology that has filters in it that acknowledge that the body is very sensitive to electromagnetic fields turning on and off. Till we create an infrastructure of technology that doesn't distract us. You've now heard me say it a couple times during the show, a global infrastructure of distraction at the seen and the unseen world. Wi-Fi is one of those dreamy distractions that can lure us into sharing dream space with someone else who might be hooked into that Wi-Fi that may have a porn addiction. And the next thing you know, you're having something negative frequency in you.
Or some really funky stuff's coming up that you've never seen.
Right, exactly. Kid video game dreams.
Yes, actually, that makes sense.
Yeah. Or why all of a sudden a need to listen to Justin Bieber albums.
You knew who it was.
Exactly.
One of the things I found was my logical mind knows I should have known this, but when I had my car accident quite a long time ago, I was prescribed sleeping tablets for all these neurological problems. But I was using sleeping tablets for a very long time. And it wasn't until I started to wean myself off sleeping tablets that I noticed that my dream time was suddenly exponentially grown. It's like because the sleeping tablets actually, I wouldn't say stop your dream time, but they severely halt any progression within a dream time. So once you have got them out of your system and you are allowing yourself that dream time to work through things and do your creation within that dream time, your life suddenly becomes so different in the dream state and in your conscious state. And I guess my point of this is just to let people know that if you're not aware of it, sleeping tablets really do affect your dream time in so many ways. And there's often you'll wake up feeling exhausted purely because your body hasn't had time to release it or mull over things in the dream state because you're blocking everything.
Yep, exactly. You're blocking everything. So there are experiments that are done out there that 7 days of no sleep, you can go fully insane and actually permanently screw up your actual ability to sleep. This is why so many people that were in World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, their post-traumatic syndrome is amplified many, many fold because they weren't allowed regular process dream sleep. And in the ancient arts of torture that have been done throughout the European and Asian communities also involve sleep deprivation to get people to tell truths, so on and so forth, because it would alter their abilities to see reality so much.
Oh yeah, I mean you know if you haven't really had any sleep in a couple of days, and for some reason your sleep is disturbed, or you just can't sleep, or too much stuff going on, it transpires in all your everyday life. You can't think straight. You're apart from being irritable and all that, it's almost as if you are entering a different altered state with your mind because you can't even process things.
Exactly,
Yes.
and that's that waking dream.
Yes, and you're not functioning properly either. So you're not thinking rational thoughts when you're not having that time that your brain needs to go down into delta and or theta and delta states, to go into really deep states where it can actually regenerate and recreate at a higher level. And when you're only going through like maybe alpha and beta states, and you're just tossing and turning, the next day you really cannot function rationally with your mind, because it hasn't had a chance to reconfigure itself and to tune itself into this reality for the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other days are overwhelming the now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need that decompression. Otherwise, you're going to have the crazy eyes.
Yeah, you're gonna have the
What?
crazy eyes. Exactly. We all
What did
have
you
seen
say?
them.
And cranky, and being really cranky at everybody
Being really
around you.
cranky. Exactly.
I'm not cranky.
Of course
You're the
not.
one that's cranky. Exactly.
Get out of my face. Yes, that side of us that we really don't like to show.
And that's amazing what lack of sleep and lack of proper dreaming can do. How it can really affect your daily reality.
So this is where I want to. We're nearing the end of the show. We got about 15 minutes left here, where I want to talk about protecting your dream space and giving a protocols to the audience out there to begin to try between this week and the next show that we have next week, so that people can put comments in if they're trying some of these techniques that we're going to be describing. And one of the ones that you'll hear me talk about frequently is the four corners of your bed. So for those of you that are already doing it, here is the next layer. And for those that if you haven't done it, here's a full explanation of how to protect the four corners of your bed so one can reinitialize themselves having more intense dream with the capabilities of remembering them. Because oftentimes we wake up when we know we dreamed, we just don't know what the hell it was about.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how that feels.
Okay? So
Yeah.
what we are going to do is we are going to gather four objects that are going to represent the sentinels of the four corners of your bed. And what you're going to read to those is contract revocations to make a moment sacred. That's the base fundamentals to it. The next fundamentals are programming the sentinels to remind you when you are in deep sleep dream paralysis to go to the ancestral North Pole to have dreamtime visitations with your forefathers, your ancestors, your guides, your guardians, to indicate to you to go and sleep with the dreaming mind of Earth in the North Pole Aurora Borealis, or to go to the South Pole where our 7 future generations exist, those that are people that we haven't had dreams or experiences with in millions of years. We make this choice to imprint within the space that you're actually sleeping the higher esoteric practitioner goals. You want to have a visitation with a loved one that truly gives remedy and resolve to the enclosure to the loss of the loved one. You want to give an adequate dream space so you can connect with your lover who's next to you, who may be sharing that same space with you. Just include them in that four corners process. Each stage is by design, each corner of the bed is by design meant to bring a set of practitioner-based teachings to the one that's going to be sleeping. And that sentinel will begin to echo this in your dream space, reminding you as the conscious awake person that when you're asleep, your consciousness is reminding you to protect your dream space, to go in and out of the dreaming vehicle in a natural way, to make sure any portals that are created do not have any observers looking in. Going at the intricate details to make sure that when you do sleep, you could put your thumb in your mouth and suck on it and not have a worry of an external projection.
So when you say four objects, for you, what do you use?
It can be anything. honestly. I would use crystals because they have more of a bioelectric frequency in it. Stones. They can even be just objects that you hold with reverence.
Yes, I mean, I use crystals, but when you say that, it really sort of broadened my mind. I thought, oh, maybe I could use a different object just to, like, update myself.
When kids have their teddy bears, that is their four corners of the bed. Or they have their blankie, that is their four corner of the bed.
That they feel protected and nurtured with their familiarity.
What we are recreating is that protected, nurtured state by you doing self-healing and self-nurturing expressions that are by design to take effect when you fall asleep.
So with each corner of the bed, are you focusing on something different on each corner?
Yes, different sets of practitioner teachings. Example, one corner is about making sure that you're heavily protected. Another corner is about removing limitations of remembering. And you can have multiple things in each corner.
Right, so you're setting yourself up for a different type of dreaming, and so it's done with intent.
Correct. Adult intent.
Adult intent.
Correct.
And how often would you redo it?
Well, this is what I would describe is you try for 7 days straight. That before you go to bed, that you can even be 2 hours before you go to bed, that you pull the objects out and you share at least 30 to 40 minutes of imprinting and programming the safety aspect, the loving aspect, and what it is you truly want to get out of it. Okay? And for those that want to go the extra credit, this is where you can get a small pouch of silver, a small pouch of salt, sage, and a tiny little piece of silver. You can even be a little mercury dime that is a little silver, or an old silver ring you don't use. You can put that into the pouch and put that over the back of your neck and the tailbone. I recommend that you actually tape them there with medical tape. Now, for some people, this is a little uncomfortable, but when you take that extra mile and you include those other 3 elements over the back of the neck and the tailbone, combined with the 4 corners of the bed, you get this intrinsically neutralizing frequency that allows far more potential of remembering what was happening in the dream world.
I like that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Another choice is after you've done this a few nights in a row, you've done the silver salt and sage, you've protected it, you then, indicate to yourself that I'm going to use like blinders before you go to sleep. You put those little cover over your eyes. And this is where you begin connecting your mind to the prayers that you just connected in the 4 corners of your bed. The left corner is the protection. The right corner is the intention. The top is reminding me to go and have ancestral visitation. The top left is reminding me that I am a person seeking the mystical dreaming experiences with a guide. You are a multidimensional, multifunctional at that moment where you've got those blinders on to even add more to that expression.
So then you're really setting up the stage for having the type of dream state that you want.
Correct. Now, there are a lot of people that are going to go and try this, and then what they'll have is very deep sleep, but they may not remember any dreams, and that's okay. If the first few days you're not getting any dreams, you need to alter what's going on and indicate to yourself to have even more deep regenerating dreams, where you change your focus and intent from having visitations, etc., to dream time regeneration, a storing of energy, so that you can have a more potent dream experience, repairing the dreaming body, repairing the physical and spiritual body, so that the dreaming frequency is no longer interrupted by what other source was interrupting it.
Right, so that's going to be quite a good process too. So like you're saying, if you don't have any dreams for the first couple of days, then there's obviously something needs to be changed and healed. And so
Correct.
You're talking about healing the dreaming body, which is wonderful, because sometimes I know that when I've gone to bed and I've prepared myself and I thought, and trying to drop off to sleep, focusing on the intent of what I want to experience, and all I do is go into a heavy dream state and I don't remember anything. So that makes sense to me now, knowing that obviously there's a part of me that needs to have that deep sleep in so it can repair itself, so that for future I can have that type of dream that I want.
So, and something else to note is this is a cumulative effect. So day 1 is day 1, and day 7 is the cumulative effect of each and every day before. So if we realize it's a cumulative effect, and you don't have anything in the first 4 or 5 days, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 12th day is where you begin to get the greatest amount of energy back. So you can have a moment in which you are aware in the dreams, and it may only be a moment for some people.
And so, Andrew, I know that you also suggest for people to keep a journal of their dreams.
Absolutely. Having that some way to record your experience right away. So another thing one can use is before they go to bed, or they add to the 4 corners of the bed, that first 10 minutes that I wake up in the morning is for me to download into cellular memory what was going on in my dreams, so I can remember it and fall back to it throughout the day and not be limited to the great forgetting of each time that I wake up. That first 10 minutes is me. I deny programs from coming in the body telling me I have to have my coffee or go and do my rigid morning rituals.
Right. So it's really important to integrate your dream and to record
day.
that. Mm-hmm.
So that the next day, it means it's a part of you. That means the manifestation actually has an equation that actually has numbers in this world as the actual manifestation point.
So over a cumulative effect that you're talking about, so as you're going through these different types of dream states that you're creating and you're journaling it, you can actually see how far you're growing with that, or how far you're coming with it.
You'll get the power of hindsight and begin to see, wow, 4 months ago there weren't a lot of dreams. 3 months ago there was a burst of dreams. 2 months ago there were hardly any dreams, and 1 month ago it was nonstop. And then this is where you need to take the next level. Wow, am I dreaming more around the full moon or not around the full moon? Was there a coronal mass suggestion or a solar flare? Because most people only have intense dream whenever there's solar flares going on.
Oh.
They're directly related.
Yeah, and full moon experiences too. I know that I dream more heavily on a full moon than I do in a normal moon. So I'm just thinking, so that's the sensitivity of the pull of the energies.
So when you become aware of your physical context, and it's saying that there's going to be a big solar flare release. Well, that's when you want to do your most amount of the 4 corners of your bed and dream intention rituals. And again, that cumulative effect takes an even stronger value when you lead up and do it, because your awareness is becoming more tuned to the full moon, the solar storms, the thunderstorms, or whatever the environment's dictating around you.
So that'd be really interesting if you do keep a journal on all of that, so you can see exactly when and where and what type of effects that you do get from these.
Right. I started doing that in my late 20s when I found out on the internet that you can actually find, the space.com where it gives you the full forecast of what was going on with the solar energies. And I began immediately noticing in myself and all of my clients. And then when 2012, 2013, and 2014 hit, and we had all of those solar eclipses combined with solar flares, remember the month of May 2014 was just crazy with the dreams that people were having with the solar flare after solar flare after solar flare. Everyone's dreams were talk all night, talk.
I know, I do recall that time too, because I know when I was writing it all down into my journal about what I was going through, I was having highs and lows in that period with my dreaming state.
Yeah, certainly when there's a full moon around, my dreams are very active. They're like action movies.
Right.
A lot of stuff. I think my dog agrees.
She's like, yeah, I don't want to sleep with you on full moons. I go to the end of the bed. You don't just want to chase rabbits.
You're interrupting my dream time.
Exactly. I'm chasing a rabbit over here.
But it certainly makes a lot of sense about the solar flares. I actually didn't think of that. I'm going to pay more attention to that.
Yes. So to reiterate, give that adult intention to the 4 corners of your bed, the objects that you're going to empower. Truly get dissective, meaning you get that opportunity to put in as much detail into each corner. And because it's a cumulative effect, the more you sleep in that environment with your direct intention around it, the more your physical body will begin to adhere to it as it goes through the sleep paralysis stage and goes through the opening up of the dreaming vehicle.
It's a very powerful process, Andrew.
Yeah. Now, for other people that wanted to go even extra credit, what you can do is get a pouch that has seeds inside it. Seeds that are going to be intended to be planted in the next spring. So you can sleep with these seeds in a pouch around your neck, so that they share dream space with you for as long as possible before you go to plant them. And for each and every seed that sprouts, that is you sharing the seeding contract to bring consciousness to this world. And you can have great and many and valuable mystical experiences, because for thousands of generations in the past, we were a society that lived